See that?
Yes.
Andrew? We don't. Okay, we're gonna call tonight's meeting to order. And we'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we gotta take roll call,
It was really helpful to us in the back. It's kind of difficult to hear back here.
but
Speak up.
so. Take roll call of the board that's here, please tell me.
Josh. Franny Cronin.
Todd Lee,
Donnie Kern.
Chris Marino. Village President Doug Lottie is not present. And as President Pro Tem, I'm required by village ordinance to preside over today's meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is to determine the eligibility of the newly elected village president, Mike Cappers, to take his seat and serve in that office. The village attorney first emailed a notice of this meeting to Mr. Cappers on Friday, April 7th, when the meeting was first scheduled to be held on April 10th, where he was encouraged to provide evidence and information in this meeting to support his contention that he is a resident elector of the village of Somerset who is eligible to be elected and serve as the village president. Mr. Cappers raised a concern about the public comment period on Sunday evening, April 9th, and this meeting was changed to today's date. The meeting was properly posted on April 10th, more than 24 hours in advance of today's meeting, and the village attorney emailed the notice to Mr. Cappers again, more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting. Under Wisconsin State Statute 61.19 and consistent with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities March 9th, 2023 advisory opinion to the village, which is included as record in today's meeting. Yeah. No person, and I quote, no person not a resident elector in such village shall be elected to any office therein. Consistent with the board's authority under Wisconsin statute section 6119 and 6132, the board will determine his eligibility. According to the league's opinion letter, the village board can determine whether Mr. Cappers is a resident elector at the time of the election pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 61.32, which says the board shall be the judge of the election and qualification of its members. The league's opinion also cited Wisconsin statute 61.20 that to state that since trustees are elected officers, anyone who holds office must be a resident elector. If residency is not maintained, the office also becomes vacant. The league's letter went on to define a resident elector and potential factors to examine to determine whether Mr. Cappers was a resident elector 28 days before the April 4th election, or whether he's a resident now. The league's opinion letter cited Wisconsin statute section 6.10, which states the residence of a person is the place where the person's habitation is fixed without any present intent to move, and to which, when absent, the person intends to return. According to the league's opinion letter, there is no case law interpreting section 6.10. However, the league thought a case from the city of Madison provided some insight as to how a Wisconsin court looked at residency. The league's opinion noted that the court found continuous personal presence and intention to establish residency, and a self-serving declaration cannot be conclusive, but must yield to the intent which the acts and conduct of the person clearly indicate. Additionally, the Court of Appeals indicated that the location of immediate family and the site of children's schooling is significant in determining residency. The league's opinion also stated habitation is the place or dwelling that someone inhabits or occupies when they are not at work, where they live, sleep, and spend time with their family. These residency decisions are made on a case-by-case basis. With that definition and those factors in mind, before the board makes its decision, Mr. Cappers will have an opportunity to present information and evidence to this board to support and show his eligibility for office to see if he is a resident elector of the village of Somerset. Before we proceed any further, I have questions for each trustee present. Can each of you impartially review information and evidence from Mr. Cappers during today's meeting before you make a decision regarding his eligibility? Please answer yes or no.
Chris Rizzo, yes.
Donnie Kern, yes.
Ugly, yes.
Brandon Crone, yes.
Josh Act, yes.
Mr. Cappers, you will now have an opportunity to present information and evidence to the board and call your own witnesses if you see fit, or have a representative do it on your behalf if you have one. To support your eligibility to hold the position of village president. That is, whether you are a resident elector of the village.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Wouldn't there be public comment prior to that?
I agree with Donnie. There should be public comment put in there.
There should be.
Yes.
Kept that in, that's all right. Very good.
All right. So yeah, let's do that now. Oh, before we get into public comment, there's gonna be 2 minutes a person. We're not borrowing time. And we're gonna go until everybody has a chance to say what they want to say. So we're not gonna cap it at 14 minutes. Everybody gets 2 minutes that wants to talk.
Thank you. Jerry Sullivan, Somerset, Wisconsin, 904 218th Avenue. This is not a fishing contest. It's sometimes the winning fish that's won has been found out with lead balls in a scheme to win at any cost. If I say that I live in Stillwater, send my kids to Stillwater, I cannot say I live in Somerset and vote in Somerset. Or that I'm a qualified elector. My kids cannot live in Stillwater while I live in Somerset. My Cappers quoted December 7th meeting 22 that he leaves his kids home alone for days on out. And that but if I send my kids to Stillwater schools to attend school, wrestle, play softball without legal guardianship in the state of Minnesota, then I'm considered an abandoning father, abandoning my kids. Right now, Washington County and St. Croix County are investigating for child abandonment. That was not 2 minutes. Mike Cappers is now being investigated by the attorney general, fraudulent rigging an election, filing paperwork that disqualifies him. Also by county officials in St. Croix and Washington. Cappers has threatened village officials, trustees, legal counsel.
Jerry, sorry, Jerry.
And we want someone like that representing the village.
I think you will do it later.
Hey, that's a threat. She needs to be taken out of here now. Out of here now.
What'd she say?
She said he's gonna be taken out. No, you need to get her out of here.
Joel.
Joel.
Okay. Gotta do it. That's what her intent was, not what you heard.
Yeah.
Everybody, let's let everybody talk. Give everyone an opportunity, okay? All of you came here to share an opinion, so please remain respectful and quiet so that we can go through this meeting with no issue, okay?
Who's up?
Can I clarify something? Does the 2 minutes start when they state their name or when they start speaking? because that's when I started the 2 minute timer.
Let's do when they start talking.
Thank you.
You're the timekeeper then on that, so.
Yep.
Right.
Does anybody else want to say anything?
My name's Christine Seaver. I live at 522 Mackenzie Street. I've been in Somerset for over 20 years. And you, Mr. Toddley, are an embarrassment. I don't know who you are. I don't know who most of you guys are up here, but you are an embarrassment to Somerset. And I have lived here for over 20 years nonstop, and I did have a child go to Stillwater schools and graduate from Stillwater schools. I understand change. My son was able to drive over there, do what he wants, and you know what? I can still sign my kids up for their sports too, because they're there. It doesn't matter where you live. Mike Capris can live here and his kids can go there. His kids have a mother over here too. So you think they live in Somerset? Where do those kids live? Anybody? Anybody? Because I don't know either. Okay. But you are an embarrassment. I did not vote for you, and neither did Somerset.
Amen.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Yersich. I'm a resident here of Somerset on 443 White Pine Lane. And what I understand is that the cause here, the problem is that we have an elected person who is found out that he actually doesn't reside in Somerset. Is that correct? Is that what that issue is? Well, I have to say that I stand with the law that says that if you are elected, that you have to be a resident of the jurisdiction in which you got elected. And I think that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty clear. I did vote for Mr. Capers, but you know, if he doesn't reside here, then I do think that is an issue. Thank you.
My name is Marjorie Metzner. I've lived in Somerset for 50 years, and I don't think I've ever attended a meeting of this sort. And I think it's a responsibility of our officials to make sure someone's eligible to run for an office before you put their name on the ballot.
Yes.
And all of these good people, or at least most of us, got a message from via text to come down here for this meeting. I'm curious how that list was accumulated. I voted, but I didn't get a text. Two of my neighbors got texts and told me about it so that I would know to come, but I'm a little disappointed in the method of communicating here in Somerset. And I definitely think that if voters come down to vote, their vote should count.
Totally agree.
I'm Elliot Paulson, live at 329 Pakeland Drive.
Second. Yeah, I'm doing. three
Yeah, sorry.
different things. Okay. Can you say your name again?
My name is Elliot Paulson, live at 329 Pakeland Drive, in Somerset. So there's been some allegations about an election tampering, and it's alive and well in Somerset with the board and with all this shenanigans that you guys have been playing, moving things around. Mike Capers is a big part of this community. He's been for a long time. Almost everyone knows his name in town. Not many people know yours. Why is that? He's part of this community. He was not elected once, but twice. He won the primary by a landslide and won this again. All this checking his residency was done before he had approval. So again, this is just games. It reflects badly on you. I hope that you guys kind of review what's happening today before the next election to possibly maintain your seats as well.
Greg Parnell, 647 Spring Street. I've done tax for 50 years and you can have houses in 2 different states. Your kids can live in a different area than you. It should be not the board that makes a decision on where somebody lives. If the state wants to step in, it's where you vote, where you're registered, where you pay insurance. That's what determines where your state is. And I'm gonna say one thing right now, Mike Capers does more in 1 week than for this village than any of you have ever done here. like I heard, I know him and I know Heck and I know Kern. And the other three, four guys, I don't know anything about you. Mike does so much for this village. We voted him in twice. And it's not your job to determine if somebody's a resident or not. The state can step in if they want to step in. Is he's got a place here. I do taxes for people that have motorhomes and they travel all over. It's supposed to be 6 months and 1 day. And do they always go by that? No. But as long as they file, and I have people, divorced people, separated people, kids live in different states. And that is common. There's nothing wrong with that. And if the kids are old enough to take care of themselves, they're old enough to stay in the house. We've had families in Somerset in the past that their parents left them here for years. For years. And the whole high school time, they were the only ones there, never a parent. And their whole high school years, they were here, but they were Somerset residents. So it's bullshit what you guys are pulling. There's no reason for it. We voted, the vote should stand. And I think.
Adam Nash, 710 170th Avenue. You know, doesn't really matter what I say. Brandon, you can tell by the way you cross your arms every time anybody talks. Just disregard everything we say. You have that attitude to you, and shaking the head. Todd, we know we've seen you on Facebook throwing up stuff. You say you're going to be fair, but why are you always talking shit about Mike on Facebook? Attacking him on Facebook. How can you be fair if you attack Mike on Facebook all the time? Remember, you donated him $100. Yeah, not much to say. It doesn't really matter what I say, but you guys are an absolute joke. And don't worry, I mean, I'm talking a lot on the keyboard, but don't worry, I mean, you're talking behind the keyboard, but we're here now. Yeah, make the right decision.
I'm Jamie Schulner, 330 Cypress Street. First of all, I moved here from Minnesota and I was excited to be here in Somerset, bought a new home, and then I got introduced to you people. The Facebook comments, the small town BS. I came from Hastings, Minnesota. I saw that in the bigger town. I come here and it's like a bunch of kids throwing dirt on one another. Are we running a village or is this a playground? That's my question. Why are businesses going to New Richmond, not here? Why we have the good old boys club and not the We're Open for Business club? You guys are sitting here. Mike reached out to me and answered my questions. Nobody else did. He told me what the vision was. I came here with no idea who anybody was. He's the only one that ever said that with me. Why would I want to keep my money in Somerset? And we got a board that says we're not even going to pay attention to the needs of the people here, and we're going to fight a pissing match with the person that won fair and square. I could see you guys have the board look on your faces. I get it. I guess it's the Minneapolis City Council. I apologize. But if this is the way it is, I don't want to be a part of Somerset. Small town politics is gone. And if you don't get over that, guess what? These new developments are going to outvote you guys real quick. And that's what I'm going to tell you. You either change it. The guy won the vote, let him in.
Stephen Words, 464 Liberty Circle. I'm sorry. Stephen Words, 464 Liberty Circle. I would trust this man, Mike Evers, over his worst day more than you guys on your best days. The arrogance and insidious behavior you guys have is outrageous. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. You think we live in North Korea? We have a right to vote. You need to respect that. It's a shame what you guys are doing. You need to be humbled a little bit. If they wouldn't be here moving, you guys will keep digging and trying to find something else. You guys are keep making excuses. Change. We live in America. We have a right to vote.
My name's Gary Hanson. I am not a resident of the village of Somerset. I'm over in the town of Star Prairie. So far, we've heard you state the facts of the matter under law. There are a few other ordinances and statutes that you need to be aware of. There's under Wisconsin, it's 19.598 CM, which states that you cannot have challenged Mike Capper's position as a resident under law for 120 days before the election. And Mike had, according to what I've read, I don't know this for a fact, but from what I read, he said that he had gotten an opinion prior to filing for candidacy. And you had adequate time between him filing and that 120 days to have brought anything forward, and to have waited just invalidates your entire arguments. In regards to residency requirements for income tax purposes, it's usually 6 months and 1 day, but they do state that there's exceptions for people that are out of state snowbirds, that as long as you have come back 1 day out of a month, you are still considered a resident. And the other legal opinion that I had seen posted indicated from the Attorney General that the residency statements are usually taken at face value. If you say you're a resident. Thank you.
Corey Wentz. I'm not a resident of the town of Somerset. I am class of 03. I grew up with Andy Nash. And Cappers was my wrestling coach. And then I stopped talking to him when I joined the military. I came back to Somerset because hometown pride. Talked to my parents today. My mom's disgusted. She's a Delts. She lived on Spring Street her entire life, across the street from the old school, the first school I went to in Somerset. This town is a joke. Not just the town's laughing at us. You, whole fucking state. Get your head out of your ass. Become an actual government. I've got flaws. Everybody does. But if Coach Larson trusted this man, why the hell don't you? He was the best in this entire town. Jesus Christ. The fuck is wrong with y'all? You don't get to speak to
Well, I get to speak for myself, Charlotte Williamson, 219 Churchill Road. All I gotta say is we voted. You need to respect the vote. You got voted out. Look at me. You got voted, I can own my flaws, now you own yours. Be a man, respect the vote. He got voted in, you got voted out. You're done. Let's wrap this up. You look like fools. You're doing this for Anders. He's a fool. Don't take our vote away from us. You're a smart man. Don't do this. You can't preach good and do bad. You voted, work with them. Work with them. You only want, you work with them. We all know why you have an issue with them. Deal with it. Your sister, your family issues, deal with it. Don't take our votes away from us. We're done with this shit. Yeah, I voted because I can. Thank you very much, dumbass.
All right, Mike.
You wanna just make sure nobody.
Oh, is there anybody that's got, input it or raise their hand or something? Andrea?
Then, yeah, they'll have a little.
Okay.
Mike Cappers, 260 Main Street. I'd like to start by saying there's plenty of evidence to support that I'm a legal resident of the village of Somerset and a qualified elector. This includes my driver's license, vehicle registration, insurance information, taxes, and registered to vote. I voted in the November election, took out papers for village president in December, filed papers for the seat in the beginning of January, and was approved by Felicia, the village clerk, to be on the ballot, which she even sent us a letter that we were certified. On the ballot, in both the primary election and spring election, which I won both. I spent a majority of my time in Somerset, which is my primary residence. I have a property in Minnesota, but it's a second home for my children, just for my children to be able to attend school in Stillwater. Although I own property there, Somerset continues to be my home. I have proven my commitment to the village time and time again. I'm the guy that continues to plow driveways, the Main Street lot, church lot, downtown sidewalks, host Friendsgiving, where we feed 150 plus people on Thanksgiving Day, host Santa on Main Street. I've been a member of the Lions Club and the Somerset Chamber. Coach youth and high school wrestling sports here for 17 plus years. I've substitute taught here in Somerset for 7 years, a little over 7 years, and donated thousands of dollars to the Somerset Community Food Pantry and frequent all the local businesses, gas stations, restaurant, and our hardware store. I've lived here for more than 25 years as a police sergeant, business and property owner, and it's very clear that I'm a legal resident and this is my home. But Village Attorney Hellquist supposed unbiased third-party opinion was the exact opposite. It was never based on, it was based off his slanted version of the truth, and neither myself nor anyone else was ever contacted. Furthermore, a qualified elector only needs to have a residency of 28 days prior to the spring election. That date would have been March 7th. So anything that he said about my residency in November and December is a moot point, and just that an opinion that can't be taken into consideration. Furthermore, the league has zero authority over any residency issues. The Wisconsin Election Commission is the overall authority that takes care of that. And I had their blessing back October 15th, when I first decided to make this venture to help build this village and make it a better place. I know many of you, Todd the only one I don't know, and I'm glad for that, but I sponsored Josh Heck through the police academy right out of high school. I attended his graduation and was his boss here at the police department for many years. Chris Marino, I've known him since he was 5. He was kind of a big bully and he gave me stitches in kindergarten, and we've been friends ever since. I even asked him to run on the board for the recall. Chris is also aware that he works at a competing campground from the one that I own, so for him to vote on this issue is a conflict of interest. Let's see what he decides to do. He's also in a tough spot because apparently he works at SMC with Brandon and Todd, and from what I know, one of them or both of them are his boss, so he's in a tough position. I dated Brandon's sister Bree for 7 years, and after we broke up, his family didn't like me, but Bree and I still get along fine. After we broke up, his family went to work at River's Edge, where they still work, which is another conflict of interest. Wisconsin statute 19.59, parent 1, parent A, the code of ethics for local government officials. No local public official may use his or her public position or office to obtain financial gain or anything of substantial value for the private benefit of himself or his or her immediate family, or in an organization for which he or she is associated. So, Fourth River's Edge, we know that your boss, Mr. Kaufman and Mr. Gates, obviously do not want me to be seated. You should think twice before commenting and or voting on this matter. With that, the village attorney Hellquist would like you to believe that you have the right to remove me from the seat. That is simply not true. That process would have needed to happen long before the election, not after the election. From the League of Municipalities, Municipal governing bodies should not, however, make a determination regarding a member's residency without holding a due process hearing. Also, such determination is subject to judicial review. The judicial review process includes having the right for proper notice. Getting an email at 2:04 on a Friday, a few days before, does not give proper notice. I didn't even see the email till Sunday. Right to counsel. How can you get an attorney and get all your evidence when you find out about something on a Sunday, the day before this special hearing? The right to present evidence. At no time we were given enough time to get legal counsel, much less obtain open records requests and documents. Part of it is the right to confront those that would testify against me or present evidence against my residency. None of this has been done. The right to be made aware of the burden of proof. They have not shown what the burden of proof is. The right to have the village make findings and base those findings on the proper burden of proof. Again, that was not done. The right to judicial review. I don't see a court reporter here. Do you guys? This whole thing is just him trying to push this through for his own agenda. Village Attorney Hellquist is trying to say that this is a due process hearing. Obviously, that's not true. That would have needed to happen before the election, not after. Whether Anders, Brandon, or Todd like it or not, I am the president-elect, receiving nearly 100 more votes than Mr. Lottie. So as a president-elect, under Wisconsin statute 1713, removal of village officials, paragraph 2, elective village officers, any elective village officer by a majority vote of all the members of the village board because of continued physical inability to perform the duties of office or gross negligence of duty. You guys aren't trying to remove me for any kind of gross negligence of duty or anything like that, or misconduct. You're trying to remove me because you are trying to say I don't have a residency here, which I have obviously shown that I do. The village attorney collects up to $40,000 a year from this village and is continuing to protect his own interest and doesn't care about yours or mine. He's leading you down the wrong path for his own personal gain. And if you make a motion or vote yes on this issue, you are going against what is right and against the voice of the community. Mr. Hellquist is the definition of corruption and what needs to be changed first to better our community. The law is clear. This is up to the Wisconsin Attorney General, not Somerset Village Board. We've already been through this. You had Anders write something up to the Attorney General. I wrote something to the Attorney General. And while I didn't, I spoke to an attorney for a little bit this morning. He put something together for me. It's on your sheets. And if you look at number 7, while I'm not an attorney, this is what my attorney couldn't make it, told me to say on short notice. And it's number 7 on your sheet. While I do not specialize in civil rights litigation, those that voted for a resident that was already determined to be a qualified elector by the village would have standing to sue the village and any trustee that votes in favor of not seating me under the theory of voter disenfranchisement. This means each vote in favor of not seating you, they are essentially purchasing themselves a federal lawsuit that they would need to defend with their own cash. Also, likely purchasing a lawsuit filed by me as to use of official office to carry out personal vendetta and misconduct in office by you guys. So think about what you're doing, because if you guys vote against me, this ain't over yet, because the village deserves better. And I got here to help fix this town. The corruption with Anders and the way this stuff is going, we need to clean this town up. And that's why everybody's here, because they know you guys aren't doing it. And I'm not saying all you guys, but come on.
We need you.
Have you got anything further? I mean, I don't wanna not give you a chance to present everything.
Well, the thing is, it would have been, due process would have been nice, so if I would have had a lot more, if we would have added attorney present and time to prepare. This is actually a joke because it's not even a due process hearing. It's beyond that. I'm a president-elect. You have no authority to try to unseat me at this point, zero. And if you want to walk down the path that Honors is leading you down, you're gonna find yourself sued in your professional and personal capacity.
Take more threats. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Watch what you say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got called to this meeting. I got called to this meeting by notice of an email. That email said that there was going to be a discussion of possible approval, potential take-up action regarding eligibility. So I spent some time this weekend because I was one of the guys that voted to get the League of Municipalities ruling. The League of Municipalities ruling, I've read it and I reread it. And I just want to point out some things that have not been stated. It says here, in the first part, it says that.
Yeah.
I agree, however, it says,
People assigned to
we need to consider any new legally significant facts relating to the residents in the time frame leading up to the election. So that's an important thing, that all of this information that was provided to attorney, what's her name? Attorney Claire Silverman was provided by Helquist back in December on the basis of Mike Capper's announcing and moving in and announcing that he's going to run, and that he went under the statute where it says that a person, when an elector moves from one ward to another ward, from one municipality to another within the state, but at least 10 days before the election, the elector may vote and be considered a resident of the new ward or municipality where residing upon transferring registration under state statute 6.40 step subsection 1, or upon registering at the proper polling place or other registration location in the new ward or municipality under 6.55, which is what Mr. Cappers did. Okay, so that wasn't challenged at the time, which it does state in the statutes that you can be disqualified. And if the clerk states that, let's see, let me find it here. Any registered elector shall transfer registration after a change of residence within the state by filing a person within the municipal clerk or mailing to the municipal clerk a signed request stating his or her present address, affirming that this will be his or her present address for 10 days prior to the election, and providing the address where he or she was last registered. That was done by Mr. Cappers in November of 2022. The elector may transfer his resignation at the proper polling place or other registration location under 602 in accordance with 6.55 if the elector is voting in the ward or election district where the elector formerly resided. Mr. Cappers, did you register in the town of Somerset where you formerly resided?
This year,
Did you register in the town of Somerset where you formerly resided?
just the village.
Did you register in the state of Minnesota?
Never.
So that leads back to the other state. It says a resident person is the place where the person's habitation is fixed, which is Mr. Anders had stated. Habitation is separate from work, so the trustee spends and the village related work does not serve to establish his residence. And the opinion from the attorney Claire Silverman said that an apartment with no empty cupboards and a bare refrigerator and cot with a few blankets is not evidence of a fixed habitation, which is based on the evidence that was provided by Mr. Anders in an email dated December 8th. That's well past the 28 days. My understanding is leading up to the election. These 28 days, so everything has changed. The league stated in a letter, or actually in an article on July 2018, that it says sometimes questions arise about the residency of municipal officers. For example, where does the elected municipal officer reside when he or she maintains two dwellings, one inside and one outside the municipality? She goes on to state that with regards to municipalities governing body members, each city and village governing body may determine the residency of the members. This is because the village boards and common councils have the power to judge qualifications to their members. Municipal governing bodies should not, however, make a determination regarding a member's residency without holding a due process hearing. Also, such determination is subject to judicial review. Now, I read this over and over and over again, and I've done this research of the state statutes. I even took it upon the liberty of going over to Mr. Capper's apartment today to see if he actually lives there. Well, he's got food in his fridge. He's got an unmade bed. He's got a TV. He's got food on the table. He's got silverware and plates in the cupboards.
Children's beds,
Huh?
kids' beds.
It's irrelevant. His children are not in question here.
They live.
We're talking about Mr. Capper,
They live
his
in
residence.
Stillwater.
We're talking about Mr. Capper's, his residence. On March 14th, we had a meeting. There were 4 people that gave testimony at that meeting that Mr. Cappers has lived here all the time. Joe Duback came out and said, I've seen Mr. Cappers going in and out at night. Jason, I couldn't hear his name. I apologize. I got bad hearing. I know the notes is his name was Jason. He said, maybe it's Jonathan, I don't know, but he said that he's always around. He works at Kennedy's and he's constantly in and out of there. So if the true issue is whether or not his residency is in question here, I asked the rest of this board, if you're gonna be true and fair and partial, did you go over and see if he lived there?
I can tell you one thing, to make it a resident, you need what? A permit. And you don't have that. That is why I'm gonna vote the way I'm gonna vote. That's it. It's not because of what Mike does or what he can do for the community. He does. You do great things for the community, Mike, but you gotta follow the law.
Grandfather did.
And that's it.
Grandfather did.
Then how come you didn't refill out the paperwork?
Permit for what?
Because you don't have to. It doesn't apply to you, right?
Because it doesn't apply to anybody.
We will.
Really, seriously. Grandfathered in, don't get any permit when it's grandfathered in. Where's the building inspector?
That is true.
Point of order, Mr. Chair? Thank you. On November 7th, there was a letter that was sent to Mr. Capper by the village attorney. Basically stating that well, it says, please know zoning district C1 business district dwelling units on second story, such as apartments require a conditional use permit. Mr. Cappers responded to that and said that he's grandfathered in. There was no further action by this attorney to state that he needed to be removed or any further actions by the building inspector who would enforce the ordinances in regards to that. So if there was a non-conforming thing, it should have been enforced at that point in time. I'm just making that out as a point. We've had 4 months to deal with this. And in December, when I made the motion to nominate Mike Cappers to the open seat that was sitting at this table, as a trustee, I did not get a second. Well, I was told by Chris, run for the seat, Mike. So Mike runs for the seat. Mike wins the seat. Mike should be seated as president of this council.
Yeah. So
is anybody gonna bring up the fiscal factors of this? Like, what happens?
Are we not, are we still doing public comment?
No.
No, public comments over.
It's over.
Wow. So, yeah, wow.
We had, anyone could talk at any time. We had public comment. So
And what's this gonna cost?
based on the facts, the village board can conclude that the habitation is fixed in Stillwater, Minnesota. Stillwater is where purchase.
I'm reading on this. I'm reading what others will be reading.
This is straight from the decision handed down.
The decision means nothing.
You're a clown.
Did you just hear everything that Donnie said?
Keep reading Facebook, everyone.
Mr. Chairman.
Facebook isn't real. Facebook is not real. everyone.
Put yourself.
All right, in conclusion, I do not support Mike as a resident elector and will not seat him on the board.
Why?
You can't. You have no choice.
That's my decision.
It's not rule that gets it.
Adequate time. Josh?
Open yourself up to a federal lawsuit by doing that.
Thanks for the threat. You got any more threats?
It's true.
Because we got threats today. Keep
Stop. This isn't gonna work. You guys, we can either proceed with this with everybody here, or we can proceed with it with everybody gone. What do you guys want to do?
No, you can't.
We're not gonna do that. Yeah.
You can't do that.
We're not gonna do that, okay?
Brandon, I'm curious
I
why,
think it's very clear that
I'm curious why you always feel threatened every time you suggest something, you always feel threatened. You're a man, you're not 10 years, 5 years old. Why you always feel threatened?
I've been on a lot of boards over the years. And my experience is one thing, and I have to speak to these people, not to the people out here, but to you guys as trustees. I was a chairman of the board. I followed the advice of an attorney, and he said we should go this route. And he went through and laid everything out to us on the board. And the board felt that this was a good thing to do, even though there was no case law to establish this argument that this attorney wanted to make. And it cost our board, it cost the board that I sat on $500,000, and we lost that case. And there's precedent set now to the contrary. Now, one of the things that was stated in this League of Municipalities really is there is no case law on this. There is zero case law. And that was one thing that I forgot to point out here, is that, you know, this is gonna be made on a case-by-case basis. They brought up something, but it states in the case, it says there is no case law interpreting 610. Although there are cases interpreting similar predecessor statutes, they are so factually different, they are not helpful. And that's cited on this argument with Eastman versus the city of Madison, that they're not precedent setting. There is no precedent on this. And I'm really cautious about taking the opinion of an attorney and it costing this village and the taxpayers a significant amount of money to defend something like that. Chairman, that we seat Mr. Cappers as the president-elect for the upcoming term.
I don't think we're quite there yet. Josh?
Second. Yeah, but you can speak. Second, and not a motion on it. You get a motion on it.
Want to get everybody have a chance to talk first. All right, Josh? You got anything?
There's a motion on the floor.
No second.
You can't.
Second and then you haven't heard that.
Still, the president called the motion dead for lack of a second.
Is there a second? Yes. Please.
When you sent out the mailings, Mike?
Speak up.
I apologize. When you sent out the mailings, Mike, for your campaign and all that stuff, what address did you use on that?
260 Main Street.
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm not sure about that, but
Okay, why would you use a different address versus that address?
that's where, well, what address did I use?
You used the hideaway address.
Because that's a big lockbox that I get most of my mail at. All of my mail. except-
It's illegal.
All in the.
It's not illegal.
It's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal.
You can have houses all over the country, you get mail to all.
You can get post office boxes all over, or if you want.
Doesn't make it wrong.
I get tax people that, they come with 5 different pieces of paper, 5 different addresses, wake up. You know better, John.
All right, and this is just information, just confirming, so you're saying that you have a residence in Stillwater. You, not bringing the kids up again, but you leave your kids home alone. And stay.
I am trying to find something. Keep digging.
Keep digging deeper.
Keep digging, keep digging.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lawsuit.
It's a lawsuit.
Lawsuit.
Huh? It was a question.
Next question. Let's leave my kid out.
There's still.
That's why it's speed one, so each person can be accounted for obviously next steps. Person associated to, so you can send this to multiple news channels around the country.
Josh? But I've got a couple of questions. I don't. Motion dead.
Motion died for lack of a
Motion
second.
There's no second.
No second.
They're in discussion right now.
So that the issue that is before us, and Donnie kind of brought it up. The issue is that you don't have a conditional use permit for that apartment. I know what you're gonna say. I get it. You're gonna say it's grandfathered in, right? That really is the question of this.
We don't have a permit for our house.
Let them.
What permit? Look, I'm telling you guys, that's what we're dealing with right here, right?
That place is.
So,
Found.
back on November 2nd, the attorney sent you, he sent you this letter, right? Are you,
So
You have a
part
copy
of,
of
part
that
of due
paper?
process would be getting the evidence in advance, so.
it's not
It's not a hearing, that's exactly what it is.
it's not a court hearing. We don't have, there's no judge here. There's no.
You're gonna ask Anders, this is a due process hearing.
Okay, do you recognize the letter?
There's multiple things.
It's dated November 2nd.
What's your question?
So on November 2nd, basically it says, came to my attention, you have declared you are a resident of Somerset due to your apparent living quarters above your restaurant in the village, Kennedy's Cafe. Please know that in zoning district C1 Central Business District, dwelling units on the second story of buildings such as apartments require a conditional use permit from the village of Somerset, and the ordinance is attached. We are unaware of any other existing conditional use permit authorizing the residents above Kennedy's Cafe. Accordingly, if you're going to reside at the apartment above Kennedy's, please submit a conditional use permit application to the village of Somerset no later than November 15th. Please also know, I anticipate any second story residents will need to meet applicable dwelling codes, which would be determined by an inspector. So that was November 2nd, right? November
Yeah,
2nd.
I don't know, you don't have a letter here from November 2nd, so.
Yeah,
What I was trying
copies there.
to pass out.
Yeah. Anyway, so it'll be a matter
We
of.
got items to pass out.
Andrea,
I was given 3 documents.
now one of them, I got you.
Well,
So-
it may be in part of the thicker packet.
All right, it is.
Well, and then if I can interject, so you don't
Let me-
keep wasting your time.
Let me get it first. November 2nd, the same day at 7:24. You went online on Facebook and said there have been tenants above, or excuse me, there have been tenants in the apartment above the cafe on and off for more than 30 years, and there's never been an issue until now.
What's your
What-
point? It's been an apartment since 1960.
It very well could have been.
My son owned the place before Mike and it's been an apartment. It's been an apartment many times.
At the end of the code,
And there was no permits for it.
at the end of the code, it says, in the meantime, this is from you. In the meantime, I'm going to need a room to rent in the village until things get straightened out with my apartment. Message me if you have anything available. A garage stall would be great as well, but not a deal breaker.
What does that have to do with anything? And then I found out through an attorney, there's not more. I found out through an attorney and a real building inspector, not an attorney who thinks he's a building inspector, that the property is grandfathered in. So I didn't need to find
Okay, so
residents.
now this is
elsewhere.
where the issue is, right? So then
There is no issue. It's
February
grandfathered
3rd.
in.
February 3rd. This is the letter that went out to you. It says, requesting, this letter follows up on our November 2nd letter, requesting you file a conditional use permit application regarding the alleged use of your second-story apartment at 620 Main Street in the village of Somerset. The village requests that you file an application no later than November 15th, but to date, you have not submitted an application coming into compliance with Somerset zoning code. More than 30 days have passed since that letter was filed and you are still out of compliance. It goes on. The point is,
I asked him
you
to
have
send
had
me a Christmas present from
chances
Santa. Didn't
to
do
fix
that.
this. All
There
you
was
had-
nothing to fix. It's
all you-
grandfathered in.
all you had to do
It's
was get.
grandfathered in, and everybody here can know that it's been part. You're a clown, dude, you're a clown.
We're done. I'm done.
You're a clown.
We're gonna go ahead and vote.
So did he part his hair on the wrong side too?
What?
Motion to tie it or whatever.
Yeah, I gotta read this. Mike, have you got anything else?
Just another thing, like, you have a conflict of interest, I'll subpoena your work records.
Oh,
It's not a threat, I'm just letting him know that if they vote on this, it's a conflict and.
Yeah. Sometimes I voted.
You don't disenfranchise the people.
Yeah.
Months.
You guys are past the point of even trying to hold this due process hearing, and there was no due process done.
Why did they use them on the ballot?
You shouldn't have been on the ballot. It was a mistake by the village clerk.
It was a mistake.
Yeah.
3 different times it was a mistake. Wow, so then she's
Because
the
you
village.
threatened her, Mike. You threatened her. She's afraid of
I
you.
threatened her.
She's retiring because she's afraid of you.
Oh, good one.
Not all kinds of people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Order. I've also been threatened. Stoney, remember that.
The real question is whether or not the resident elector is a US citizen and has been in the ward for 28 days before the election. Even in the opinion, the resident election under section 6119 states whether he's a US citizen and resided in the election district or ward for 28 days before the election, which was challenged by the in the courts, and it was deemed unconstitutional. It's an appellate. It's actually 10 days. So I don't know if it's 28 or 10 according to my research on this, but it says 28 days before the election. Well, all of the stuff that's been brought up, even the February, you know, there has been back and forth on this. And I haven't seen all of the information as far as the letter that you were stating here today for the email to or the letter to Micah as far as him being in violation of the code. You know, that he needs to have that. I got the one from November 2nd because I asked for Mr. Anders on it. So I was wondering, are we copied with all of these letters that are coming through from the attorneys?
It's in the packet that was filed. I think we've got copies of all of them and they're, as of tonight, they're all up record as well.
Packet that was filed with.
The packet that she has today. Got one put together and sent to the Attorney General.
Has it been sent to the Attorney General?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in the Attorney General's hands. So why don't we leave it in the Attorney General's hands and let him make the decision?
The way that it reads.
Well, I understand what it reads, but there's no precedent for that. It says we're a qualified we're a qualified elector, but if there was precedent, if Mr. Honors can, and Mr. Helpus can state to me the precedent in the case law of the precedent that he's citing on this, I'd be willing to listen to it, but I read everywhere and I couldn't find anything other than something that the Claire Silverman said isn't even you know, similar. So we all agreed as a board that we needed to take this to the Attorney General. I disagreed with that, but a majority did. And it's in the Attorney General's hands. Let the Attorney General do their job and let's move on with life.
The Attorney General decides, then it will.
Pardon?
Shouldn't he be seated now till the Attorney General decides?
Public
Yes.
He's the president. Because you're trumping the election process. You know, this is it's like a unilateral body deciding who can and can't be seated. He should be seated. Attorney General should be the one who comes down and rules that he should be removed. At that point, then a special election should be run for the chair.
All right.
That's not what this is here. This right here is saying, let's not vote this guy in and like him. And I'm an
Or
impartial
public
source.
comment, look, I get it.
Attorney General should decide, just like with the Trump administration went on. Attorney General didn't get told. The Democrats couldn't even let them decide that, or the Republicans. Over.
Anders, can you clarify how that works if we wait until the Attorney General makes a ruling?
Could be 2 years from now.
Oh, he's on mute.
Oh, because people were talking during.
It's not your. That's true. It's not your decision. And the police here.
I got one more thing to say before. Mr. Hellquist, if I can say one more thing before you can respond to Josh's question, if that's okay?
We can dissolve.
It's your meeting.
Thank you.
US Constitution. Sure.
On March 14th, 1 hour and 16 minutes into the meeting, it was asked by Todd if we should, as a board, vote to undo this before the election. We should have a vote and we should remove this. 1:16 on March 14th, because I went back and watched that. And Mr. Anders said, no, we should probably let's just send a letter to the Attorney General. And so everybody voted to send a letter to the Attorney General and have Mr. Hellquist send a letter to the Attorney General. Now that's what we all agreed upon then. What changed from then to there, other than an election?
So if
The election was had, the election was done. We all agreed to send it to the Attorney General, not take that vote on March 14th, when we could have pulled him from the ballot that day. We could have pulled him from the ballot that day. But we didn't.
So as long as you have the minutes, you can prove that out, he's correct. Because.
It's in public record, and what I'm saying is, pardon me, but I'm talking.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay? We, as a board, had that opportunity on March 14th, and we chose not to do that. And when I say we, meaning I'm part of this board too, even though I'm in the minority, I'm still part of that board. The majority at that time that voted to send a letter to the Attorney General could have taken that under recommendation from Mr. Helquist, but they chose not to do that. Now the election happened and now we're sitting here deciding it now. I think it's a little late. I think it's a little late.
Maybe what the board votes on doesn't count any more than what the public votes on.
Well, no, they. Brandon Crone motion to.
Hold on. Before any motions are made,
Sorry.
I think there were some questions. First, there was a question about the Attorney General process. The verified complaint as authorized by the board was sent to the Wisconsin Attorney General in March. They have not made a decision whether or not to proceed with an action against Mr. Cappers. And in terms of case law, Donnie, again, right now, we're looking at what the league said and under 61.32 of the statutes, which does say that the village board has the power to, and it shall be the judge of the election and qualification of its members. So again, this is coming from the league's opinion, and the league materials that you cited as well earlier in the meeting, and that Mr. Cappers forwarded to the board yesterday. In terms of, I guess, options with the village or with the Attorney General issue out there, there are really, I think, three options for the board. And this is a board decision and a policy call where you have to make the judgment on whether Mr. Cappers is a resident elector, or even whether you want to make that judgment. So, number one, you can take no action as a board. If you take no action, Mr. Cappers will be seated. You can also take no action, and it's possible the Attorney General will bring a complaint against Mr. Cappers, but I'm not going to speculate whether they will or won't. So those are kind of the two options in terms of no action. And again, that's your call. You can vote to take no action, and that's perfectly fine with me, actually. It really is. You as the board are the policymakers, and you as the board, it's the village board that gets to decide the qualifications of its members, not the village attorney. The other item, the other option would be to make a motion, essentially finding Mr. Cappers is not a resident elector, based on the findings or the other information presented. But again, those are kind of your options. So I don't think, unless there's another process or legal question, I have nothing substantive to add, because it's not my case to prosecute. It's not your case as the board. It's to prosecute. It's your case as the board to decide. So I do want to thank Mr. Cappers for participating in this process, and the public as well.
Thank you. So with that said, I guess I make a motion, take no further actions at this point in time, and let the Attorney General make the decision for us.
As the voters of the village have spoken,
And they have obviously elected Mr. Cappers, so it's the Attorney General.
Motion's on the table, any further discussion?
Point of order, was there a second? I didn't hear.
Second, Donnie Kurt, second.
Okay, thank you. Just before we went into discussion, thanks.
I just have one thing under discussion. 428 votes. There's 428 people. 53% of the people believe Mike Cappers is a resident of this. This has been discussed all the way through. Nobody here is not oblivion to the fact about what we are talking about here, but taking a no no action vote here today. If that's what gets the job done here, so we can move on and start healing this, I'm all for it.
Yes. So any further discussion? Okay.
Call for a roll call vote on this.
And motion on the table to have the board do nothing and allow the attorney general to adjudicate this, whether Mike Cappers is a resident elector or not. Josh?
Aye.
Nay.
What was that?
I'm a
Nay.
I'm a no. Donnie?
Aye.
I'm a nay. Motion's defeated.
Yeah.
So what happens in the meantime? You become president?
So you see.
Until the attorney general decides. So
Like to make a motion to adjourn. We don't take any
Mo-
action.
Motion to adjourn takes precedent in terms of the priority of motions.
So based on the information from this meeting, board's discussions and records before us, under our authority in Wisconsin statute 61.32, I make a motion to order that Mike Cappers is not a resident elector of the village, was not eligible to be elected and is.
Hold on, Todd. Todd, was there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
There was a motion to adjourn.
Need a second. Need a second to it.
Yeah, there needs to be so that motion takes priority over other motions. So you need to resolve the motion to adjourn and take a vote on that.
Josh, I'll make a second.
That's it. We're done.
No, yeah.
Oh.
On adjourn.
You don't vote. on it.
No, we don't.
Motion to adjourn.
4:42.
That was awkward.